I can see the terraces covered in vegetation. It only leads to the imagination how big this site must be.
To put Ciudad Perdida in perspective, archaeologists have estimated that it is 10 times larger than the famous Inca ruins of Machu Picchu in Peru. Even though most of it is hidden by thick vegetation, it's still breathtaking when you consider the effort that was needed to build a city in this terrain. Archaeologists have only just begun to scratch the surface, but they are finding some really exciting evidence of what this place was once like. Santiago Geraldo is leading the excavations.
What dates does this site have, do you think?
Okay, the earliest date that we have here is a 650 AD date, and that's what I found during my research.
Those dates really resonate with me, this idea we're getting lots of cultures rising up, these Chibcha-speaking cultures, and it's a very similar time period to when the Muisca rise up.
The time when these periods are rising up maps out quite well, say, with the classic period of Mesoamerica. And then the Maya collapse around 900 to 1000 AD, but these guys just keep on going.
It's thought that Ciudad Perdida was occupied for almost 1,000 years, existing in parallel with Muisca society. But while very little remains of Muisca architecture, here the Tairona structures have lasted remarkably well, leaving clear evidence of how they were constructed.
So here we have a classic Tairona wall.
Now, the stone shows up really nicely. You can get this really nice faced edge coming down. It looks really good. And this stuff goes on for miles.
Yeah.
Looking at the steepness of these mountain slopes, how do you think that the Tairona coped with that, with their architecture?
So really what's at a premium here for these societies is flat areas. And what they were doing with all the terracing was actually creating flat, livable space. Now, one of the main difficulties is that these people used no mortar. So what they did was a combination of masonry and rammed earth. And that's what makes them incredibly stable. And also the fact that they overlapped one terrace to the other. So you create step-like platforms. And that's what really creates stability in an area such as this one, because you've got over 4,000 millimeters of rainfall. And that means that a terrace can be washed away if it's not really stable.
Working in harmony with the landscape, the Tairona created a thriving city. It's extraordinary that salt, cotton and gold from the lowlands were traded up here, around 1,000 meters above sea level. These stone terraces provided stable foundations for large wooden structures that would have been at the center of communal life in the city.
These platforms look fantastic. The size of them, the monumentality. Do you think this is a particularly special part of the site?
Oh, absolutely. We've got the main feasting gathering area over there. In excavation work that I did in 2006, what we found was that most of the trash that was being deposited was drinking cups, serving jars, and big trays. That pretty much spells out feasts and feasting for the most part. And then you've got adjacent structures that probably served as kitchens.
What do you think the role of that feasting was here? Do you think it's a display or chiefly status?
As in most human societies, the politics of commensality are exceedingly important. They're extremely, extremely important just for creating allies. There's work feasts. There's when you've got a new trading partner coming in, of course you want to impress him.
Ritual feasts strengthened social relationships within the Chibcha-speaking community and beyond.
During the 16th century, we found evidence that chiefs here were actually trading gold objects for wine with French and English pirates that were bringing in wine. So feasting definitely played a hugely important role in these societies.
A variety of different produce was grown at different elevations. But these bountiful slopes were steep and thick with vegetation. Moving large quantities any distance must have been a real challenge. To see how they did it, I'm heading back down to the coast.